Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be acting mayor this afternoon. Mayor Watts is not available to be here, and I'm going to call the Council-in-Committee meeting to order. We have a couple of delegations. I would ask for Bob Patton, the Executive Vice President of Strategic Planning, and Jeff Cross, the Senior Manager, Policy and Analytics of TransLink. Give us a presentation.
Thank you.
On the Patello Bridge replacement.
Well, thank you, Acting Mayor and members of Council. A pleasure to be here. And I'll call on Jeff if you probably have the harder questions that I know I can't answer. I'll certainly be drawing on Jeff's expertise. So it's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. We wanted to take an opportunity just to provide you with an update on some information. It's been a number of months since we've had an opportunity to address the Council and to speak specifically to the Patello project. A number of things have transpired since earlier this year. One of the most critical things was the emergence of a consensus on a way forward as a result of the Mayor's vision. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to take you through that and also look at some important next steps that we look forward to working with you and in particular with your staff on as we start to advance this project. So just the objectives for today's session really are to touch on what the attributes are of this project that has been identified. I wanted to get into some specific detail about rehabilitation work that needs to be done and must be done, and rehabilitation work that we believe could be avoided if we actually are replacing this structure. And we'll provide you some details there and some timelines that are relevant to some things that will take place over the next year. There will be a referendum. There needs to be an investment plan. But you'll see in a few slides just how that works itself out. The other part of this is really to have just to touch on some of the milestones that we see in front of us, and also this will get into some key elements of some work that needs to happen. The first thing was just to revisit the Mayor's Council direction. I'd like to offer my congratulations to the Mayor's Council, and I know a number of your senior staff were very engaged as well, supporting your Mayor in those deliberations and working with other staff. So it was very much a collective municipal effort, and we were pleased to be able to support that through TransLink. I think one of the things that the Mayor's vision did is it's provided for something that's been needed for quite some time in our region, a very clear vision of what we want to accomplish collectively as the member municipalities, electoral area, and a First Nation of Metro Vancouver. And that is something that we just have not had for many, many years. Coming out of that then was some work that very specific as to what can be delivered. The Mayor's put a lot of attention into what could happen in the first 10 to 12 years. I think I won't go through all of the plan, but that includes LRT and rapid transit here in Surrey, as well as increased bus service, and a decision to move forward on a replacement of the Patello Bridge. One of the things that the Mayor's looked at is they recognize that the bridge is aging, 76, 77 years old now. There is some money that unfortunately we are going to have to spend on it to just keep it in good working order over the next few years while we build the replacement. But how much money do we want to invest? A few years ago, when it was uncertain how we would proceed, we put forward in a plan the potential of spending up to $300 million to rehabilitate the existing Patello Bridge. That would buy decades of life, but certainly would come at a transportation price, if you will, which would mean reduced capacity, likely would have to go to a 3-lane bridge, etc. And as the Mayor's looked at this, I think collectively they reached the conclusion that it is critical to implement the new bridge as soon as possible and to avoid spending $200 million more on the existing Patello Bridge. So that's the consensus that emerged out of the work with the Mayors. So the parameters of what is being considered now are the following. What we're looking at is a replacement structure that would initially have the scope of a 4-lane. It'll be modern, it'll be multimodal, and by that we mean it will have the capacity to handle cycling, pedestrian walking, as well as the goods movement that we have on it today and the travel that you have by automobile. We would be ensuring that the design of that facility would enable a future expansion if and when that would be needed. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the work we want to do in the months ahead with your team to be able to define that very specifically. In addition to that, the Mayors are looking and this was one of the things they very much want to see as a pricing and revenue mechanism into the future. They wanted to see mobility pricing brought in. Now what that means in terms of roads, they believe a comprehensive road pricing system is needed in our region to be able to fund future investments. It's very much a critical part of their long-term vision. We want to, and we're going to continue to do work. We actually have work planned to begin to do field tests on mobility pricing, and there is activity that's also begun now at the provincial government to reconsider and to revisit their current tolling policy. So we believe over the next few years that we will see the implementation of a road pricing system for our region that would address specifically how we could bring a pricing or a demand management onto this bridge. And demand management is important. If in the event that doesn't transpire, we would have to look at this in terms of a very facility-specific toll. But that, we believe, is work that we'll address later on. So that was those are the fundamental parameters of what the mayors had identified and how that affected the work here. In terms of moving on the new bridge, we think there's some significant benefits. First off is just the seismic and the operational. Right now, while the bridge is safe, it cannot meet the highest levels of seismic that we would like to ensure it could meet. So there's some risk there. The other thing is the nature of the structure now. If it was to be severely impacted on one of the piers that are below the bridge on the river, if there was a collision of some sort with some river traffic, that could have a potential impact on the bridge. A new bridge will put that behind us, and we'll have the appropriate seismic for decades and centuries to come, as well as deal with the operational side. It also moves it from, while it's currently a 4-lane, it is not the level of standard of what you're looking at 4 lanes. Just crossed it today on the way over here and had a good look, and immediately a truck pulled in front of us and straddled the lane. So we know that is happening, and it impacts the capacity of the bridge. So a replacement would be to today's standards, which we think would improve flow and capacity on it quite significantly from what we can realize today. I can't put a figure on it, but we sort of think sometimes it's sort of like the 3.5-lane bridge when you see how it's utilized by some of the traffic flowing on it, and it has an impact. It has an impact on congestion here in Surrey of people trying to get northbound in the mornings, and it has some impacts in New Westminster. The last thing that we believe that this project, scoped as it would, if we look at having a demand measure on it, and that's some form of pricing, that will that will probably give people options of where they want to go, which will reduce the amount of traffic that we have on the bridge, and would likely see a significant lift in your travel times. So we believe moving on this bridge, as we've kind of scoped it out through the Mayor's vision, we'll see increased travel times once it's built, and we'll see a reduction in capacity, and so it can meet today's needs and the needs into the future for Surrey for some time. But that's some more detailed work we're going to get into with staff in the months ahead. I just wanted to now just touch a couple of key things on timing that are emerging. So I think the first thing is we have 2 paths that we're on right now with regard to the Patello Bridge. The rehabilitation, so rehabbing the old bridge, fixing it up to the best of our ability. We're on a track right now where we will spend $100 million, and we're starting to do it. We'll spend a substantial amount as we move into next year. But if we have a final decision on a new replacement project by late 2015, then that will, we believe, let us prevent the expenditure of another $200 million. If in the event we can't resolve that and come up with a replacement project, then we would likely have to proceed to spend those dollars. So we've mapped out 2 paths. I think the key one on it is really looking at how much do you need to put into a rehabilitation. Now, I just want to offer some cautions. We've had an opportunity. We had the bridge closed for a couple of weekends this summer. We did some work on it. I think with a much improved travel deck that you see today after the work this summer. But what came to be was when we peeled back the asphalt, it's clear the problem that's happening with the bridge, the delamination of the concrete from the steel. You cannot stop that from happening. It is going to continue to happen. It's now really a matter of can we mitigate for the number of years 8 years or so it would take to get it replaced, and do it at the lowest expenditure to get a new bridge in place. So that's the timelines that we have mapped out here. So just to look at this in a little different way visually, what we're looking at is sort of the top is the preferred path, and we'll spend about $50 million on the seismic, so what we need to do on the understructure of the bridge, and about $50 million on the deck itself. So that's some work that we have there. Now, in the event we can't come up with a replacement, what that moves us to is the lower line. As you can see, that is the $200 million. But also, if we put that much money into a rehabilitation of the deck, and we're doing it for a longer term, we would likely have to look at how many lanes can we put on that. And that's where we said that would probably take us to a 3-lane capacity bridge into the future. So that has a number of problems from just a transportation capacity issue. So that's roughly the 2 paths we're considering. So this is probably the key slide here, and I'm almost finished. One of the things is we're just getting out. We wanted to just have an opportunity to speak to both Surrey Council and New West Council today, and to just talk about the endorsements that have come forward. Much of this is a result of work that was done in the Mayor's vision. We really want to move now to start to commit some design dollars so we can get on with this work. And the third bullet here we think is probably the most important. We want to develop partnership agreements with the City of Surrey, the City of New Westminster, and ourselves to really detail some of the work that has to be done. So, for example, in the scope of the work that we would put in place, it would provide you details what would trigger consideration of additional lanes. And so there's some work that has to happen there, and we've had some preliminary discussions at the staff level, but we need to formulate that and bring that back and put that in a partnership agreement that we could then, once we have the agreement, then be able, after a referendum, to be able to take steps to put a replacement project in a new investment plan. So again, these are some of the work streams that are there. As I mentioned, the project scope, refinement, and this is really looking into the details. How do you access it on both sides of the river? What would we need to look at? Part B is on the funding and pricing. This is more an area where we're going to likely be doing some work with senior government while we're looking at using revenue from the bridge to pay for the bridge. There may well be some subsidy of the bridge. We need to have that conversation with senior government. And lastly, concluding the partnership agreements with our municipal partners on the project. And that concludes my presentation. And so thank you very much, Acting Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Mr. Baden. Questions? Councillor Villeneuve.
Can you just refresh my memory on the projected cost of the replacement of 4 lanes?
So, well, maybe I'll ask Jeff to come up on that one.
For the purposes of the vision, our current estimate is about $975 million for a new bridge.
Okay, thank you. For 4 lanes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Councillor Gill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Jeff. Thank you for coming to our meeting on a monthly basis and having it as a standing item each and every month. That being said, I really certainly hope that we can move this initiative forward. My question, and I believe I know the answer just for purposes of those that are not aware of the answer, but if we are forced to make that $300 million investment, what would the lifespan of the rehab bridge be in terms of that particular investment?
You could be buying yourselves decades of future on that. I mean, we really looked at that as work we would do if there was no resolution on a replacement and we had to live with the bridge as it is, and what would we need to spend. So we could probably buy a couple of decades or more, potentially.
A similar analogy would be Lionsgate Bridge. So you cannot bring it up to modern seismic standards of what a new bridge like Golden Ears Bridge or Port Mann Bridge would be, but you can buy sort of interminable life with it.
Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarification, the $975 million bridge, would that be the 4-lane that could go to 6-lane as required?
Yes, that's our sort of current estimate. That would not foreclose the option. We wouldn't be building 6 lanes, but the main structure would be designed in a way that you could, if mutually agreed upon, transition it.
Thank you.
I have a question just before we conclude, when you said that the surface would, on rehabilitation, only have 3 lanes, did I understand that correctly? So we would go to 1 lane less than we have now?
If we were to go to a level of rehabilitation that we would be looking out decades on use of the bridge, it is likely we would give serious consideration of going to a 3-lane. And the reason for that is that at this point in time, TransLink has the risk on the bridge. We inherited that bridge in the configuration it is today. So if there was to be, let's say, vehicle accidents as a result of that, with the current widths, our liability is not, it's not such that, that would be held against us. That's what we inherited. If, on the other hand, we go and we invest hundreds of millions of dollars into a structure to keep it operational for the traveling public of our region for 2 or 3 decades, then we would have to revisit what is our risk threshold there. And I'm not sure that we would find 4 lanes at the current width tolerable from a risk perspective for the long term. And we might consider taking it down to 3 just for safety reasons.
And that timing is the end of 2015?
We're hopeful that we'll have decisions on a replacement by the end of 2015. If not, we'll make some decisions as to how we would go forward. If not a replacement, then what would we be looking at with a rehabilitated bridge?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Patton. And can you just refresh my memory on the Golden Ears Bridge and the funding model that was used there?
So the Golden Ears Bridge was approximately $1 billion. It was built as a public-private partnership as we went through the screen. What we have now is we have a situation where we have an operating company that manages the tolling for us, and we had offshore financing. So we have some commitments to pay back the consortium on the Golden Ears Bridge. We are subsidizing that, and that's one of the features of a long-term project, is you have to subsidize it in the early years because the later year volumes pay it off. So we've been subsidizing that in the first few years of the Golden Ears Bridge, the first 5 years of the Golden Ears Bridge. But it is a P3 with a consortium.
So, and that subsidy is in the amount of something like $30 million every year?
It's actually closer to $40 million right now.
$40 million?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your presentation today.
Thank you,
how much money we were losing on the other bridge that we didn't need, but not on the bridge we do need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Sorry, I have one more speaker here. Councillor Hain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Patton, thanks for your presentation. You're saying that the new 4-lane bridge would come in sort of just south of $1 billion. I'd like to say if and when, but it'll be when it gets expanded to 6 lanes. Do you have an estimate at this point in today's dollars what that added 2 lanes would cost down the road? Of course, it'll be a lot more then, but just wondering what that differential is at this point.
Yeah, it's, Councillor, it's roughly in the order of $200 million. There's still, there would still need to be work done on which connections you want to make and which will be done on day 1. So those would kind of impact it. But as far as adding 2 additional lanes on the outside of it, or in addition to the 4, it's roughly a $200 million delta.
Okay, thank you. Next, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Up next, Linda Stromberg, Library Board Chair, and Melanie Holden, our Chief Librarian. Melanie, or Linda, are you starting?
Thank you, Acting Mayor and Council, for your time. My name is Linda Stromberg. I'm the Chair of the Surrey Libraries Board, and with me today is Melanie Holden, the Chief Librarian for Surrey Libraries. We're presenting to you today to underscore the importance and relevance of public libraries and to inform you of some of the work of Surrey Libraries.
So I'm going to begin with some compelling data on what demonstrates the value of our library here in Surrey. Each day, almost 7,000 people access one of our 9 branches. Over 2.4 million people visited our libraries in 2013. That's comparable to every citizen visiting at least 5 times over the course of the year. Over 4 million items were borrowed. That's about 8 items per capita, with an approximate value of about $10 million. There were 1.6 million views of our website to access information about our collections, find out what our programs are available, and use online research tools. And staff responded to over 340,000 requests for information and assistance in using technology. The library is a community information hub that connects people of all ages to great books, movies, and music. It assists people in making key decisions in their lives by providing trusted sources of information. It helps people to achieve their maximum potential and nurtures the creative spirit and imagination through access to a wide range of opinions and ideas. The library is a place for citizen engagement. It acts as a refuge, a haven, as a third place for people seeking both interaction with others and a place for quiet reflection. The library offers a wide array of learning opportunities and enhances literacy for all ages so that they can create a good life for themselves and for their families. We work in partnership with the community to build a brighter future by addressing issues of concern such as poverty reduction, settlement of newcomers, and by championing the importance of strong literacy skills. The library acts as a place to hold important community conversations about such topics as sustainability, human rights issues, or the understanding of the impact of technology by hosting events such as the Human Library or the 3D Printer Fair.
I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to the board members of Surrey Library. So beginning on the left is Perbeen Mann. Then we have John Shepherd, Morella Scarelli, Apkar Tatley, Melanie, of course, James Bennett, Anne Van Ryn, Rakesh Arora, and myself. And missing from the picture are Karen Reed-Sadhu, Marina Haddad, and Councillor Mary Martin. I want to recognize Council's role in the selection and appointment of trustees who are genuinely interested in the work of the library and who are focused on providing good governance and acting on the vision set out by the library's strategic plan. This year, 2 of our trustees received special provincial recognition for their work. Apkar Tatley received the Super Trustee Award in acknowledgement of his service on Surrey Library's board, Interlink, and the BC Library Trustees Association Board, where he served as first a director and is now treasurer of the provincial board. And our Vice Chair, John Shepherd, received the prestigious Nancy Bennett Award. John has served on 3 library boards in BC, coordinated various college studies for the betterment of libraries, and spoken at both federal and provincial library conferences. Our strategic plan for 2013 through 2015 identified 4 outcomes which have guided our work plan over the past 21 months, and we would like to take this opportunity to highlight some of that work for you now. On the social engagement front, we've increased outreach efforts. The library has a presence at the food bank, Surrey Urban Mission, local daycares and preschools, anywhere that people gather so that we can better connect them to the library and its services. In 2013, over 147,000 children and teens and over 14,000 adults enjoyed programs both in our libraries and out in the community. With the assistance of funding from the Vancouver Foundation, the library is collaborating with 6 agencies to create, decorate, and plant little free libraries in their neighborhoods. The process helps build a sense of community as people share creativity, skills, and wisdom across generations. It also promotes literacy and the love of reading through this model of free book exchange. Library staff have guided the process throughout the summer and will officially launch these mini libraries this fall. The Human Library offers a chance to talk to people whose background and experiences are completely different from our own. The purpose of these events is to shatter stereotypes and tap into the wealth of knowledge and experience that exists in our community through dialogue and to promote respect for diversity. Our latest Human Library was held in May and focused on religions. A second session on religions will be held in 2015. Both City Centre and Newton Libraries were voted amongst the top welcoming spaces by newcomers in the Welcoming Spaces Project, a project of the Surrey Welcoming Communities. Staff with many language skills work to engage our diverse community in celebrations of special events like Chinese New Year, Diwali, and Eid. as well as Christmas and other holidays and community events, ensuring that newcomers feel engaged and welcome in their new home.
According to the Early Development Instrument released by UBC in 2013, 34% of children in Surrey enter kindergarten as vulnerable learners. The easiest way to reduce low literacy is to prevent it. So this year, Surrey Libraries launched the Read to Baby program, which has the goal of delivering a small kit of early learning resources directly to 1,000 of the most vulnerable families of newborns, in partnership with the public health nurses at Fraser Health. We have successfully raised over $25,000 this year for the Read to Baby project and have leveraged the support from the Mayor's Charity Ball, which has led to an increased exposure of Surrey Libraries to potential donors. Our goal is to provide kits for every new baby, all 5,000 of them born in Surrey each year. Research shows that kids who read over the summer do not lose their reading skills and are better prepared when they return to school. Surrey Libraries has had the largest summer reading club in the province for 10 consecutive years. Reading Dogs offers a non-judgmental, non-threatening and fun way to practice reading skills. Offered in participation with the St. John's Ambulance, Dog Tales is offered at the Newton and Semiahmoo Libraries. Sponsored by the Coast Capital Savings, this program, the Reading Buddies program, is held at 7 of our 9 locations with the addition of Semiahmoo Library this fall. The program matches teen volunteer mentors with reluctant or struggling readers in grades 2 to 4. The program is important as it offers a chance for our teen volunteers to engage with the community and develop skills that will assist them in deciding future career goals. Reluctant readers develop their confidence by reading, by working at their own pace in an encouraging environment.
Working to ensure equitable access, 3 of our branches offer story times for the developmentally disabled. The stories are designed especially for teens and adults with developmental disabilities and their caregivers. Not only does this program reduce isolation of this vulnerable group, it also helps shatter stereotypes and creates acceptance for people with disabilities. The library offers special collections of reading and listening materials and equipment for people who have difficulty reading regular print materials. Volunteers deliver materials to over 1,000 residents in seniors' homes, care homes, and private residents, to those who are unable to come to the library due to illness or mobility issues. These materials have recently been enhanced through participation in new services offered through the Centre for Equitable Library Access and National Network of Equitable Library Services, which together provide access to over 200,000 titles in print, digital, and audio formats, including Braille. The Apple iPad project, titled Curiosity Corner, has had rave reviews at the Newton Library and will be expanded to City Centre and Strawberry Hill Libraries this fall. Curiosity Corner gives kids who may not have the technology at home the opportunity to begin learning and exploring in the digital sphere.
The Literacy Day report for 2014 outlines the important role that libraries play in leveling the playing field and making sure everyone has access to technology and the skills they need to succeed in today's technologically rich environment. The library offers free access to over 300 computer workstations, the internet, productivity tools such as Word and Excel, as well as training through our 4 computer learning classrooms. Staff act as guides and trainers, introducing people to the basic and intermediate technology skills, ranging from using a mouse to downloading e-books. The library works with over 70 partners to deliver programs and expand our reach into the community, either through joint programming such as our computer learning classes offered in a range of languages from Hindi to Tagalog, outreach to people who could benefit from library services such as at the food bank, homeless shelters, immigrant serving agencies, Surrey Pretrial Centre, and many more. Through this means, we were able to support career and job search services and other programs such as income tax clinics for low-income earners. The library is also involved at the strategic level by working with and participating in many committees. The Library Champions project is being piloted by 5 library systems in the Lower Mainland, working with volunteers to promote the library within immigrant communities. All volunteers are newcomers themselves. After receiving training about the services offered at the library, people go out into the community to spread the word. Surrey Libraries is the most successful library in recruiting library champions. We have set the benchmark, and other libraries are seeking our counsel on how to recruit and retain high-quality and passionate volunteers.
The library actively seeks feedback from the community through comment cards, our website, Facebook, and Twitter, which are compiled and reported to the board to ensure community satisfaction remains at the forefront of our decision-making. We often hear comments like, "You people rock." Complaints are taken seriously and answered quickly and professionally. I'm very impressed with games night for teens. I love the library. And professional and helpful staff helping with e-readers. Superb service received. The library is proud of our contributions in making Surrey a great place to live, work, and play, and we look forward to many more years of helping to create our city as it continues to grow and change. Thank you to Mayor and Council for your support in making sure the library remains a vibrant service that continues to meet the needs of the community we serve.
Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for all the work that you do. Any questions? Hearing great job, and so seeing none, I will entertain adjournment, please. All those in favor, opposed, we are adjourned.